to go through some of my favorite low back stretches, especially if you're feeling tight or tender going along the belt line of your low back, or if it's just localized on one side versus the other side. A lot of times if you're starting into a training routine again, or you've increased the weight or intensity in your training program, especially if you're doing a lot of posterior chain work, so that being lats, low back, glutes, hamstrings, those muscles tend to get tight, and what happens is they seize up the pelvis stops moving, and the back can get kind of fussy with that, okay? So throughout the course of the stretching video, listen to your body. If at any point you feel any sharp stabbing pain, come out of it nice and slow. The goal is to work mobility without putting you out completely, okay? So what I want to start this series with is one of my favorite go-tos. I call it a cat-cow and a sexy dog, okay? So from the side, I'm going to have my hands underneath my shoulders, my knees underneath my hips, and I'm just going to tuck my chin under, press the middle part of my shoulder blades up toward the ceiling, and I'm going to rotate and tilt my pelvis so that my tailbone is pointing down toward the ground. Okay, and then to come out of that, I'm going to tilt my pelvis, point my tailbone up, drop your belly button, open the front of your rib cage, drop your chest bone, look up toward the ceiling, tuck your shoulder blades down, and then let's do that same thing again. So you're going to tuck your chin down towards your chest, press away with the arms, try to spread through the shoulder blades, and then you're going to round your tailbone down and tuck, okay? Let's do the same thing again, so tilt the pelvis. What you're trying to picture is your spine is like a slinky, okay? So each of those little vertebrae are moving individually as you're going through this stretch. From the front, tuck the chin, press up. Good, tuck that tailbone, and then do the reverse. Tailbone points up, belly button drops down, look up toward the ceiling. Okay, move number 2, sexy dog. You're just gonna look over the shoulder at the outside of your foot, okay? So you're just adding a little bit of lateral flexion here. So a couple different positions that you can do this one in. With keeping my knees in the exact same position and trying to keep my hips stacked directly over my knees. I'm gonna start this position in a neutral spine. Okay, so that position is a nice, natural, comfortable resting position for the spine. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of that lateral flexion. Okay, the focus is trying to minimize the amount of movement in the lower body. And I'm trying to lead this movement by swiveling around. If I had a spike going up to the bottom of my ribcage, right where my ribs split, all I'm doing is trying to swivel around that spike as I'm looking over the shoulders, okay? Essentially, if I were to look at it from a bird's eye view, okay, is I'm trying to do a little lateral flexion, lengthen between that rib and the hip, and I'm doing another lateral flexion, lengthen between the rib and the hip, okay? The next stage of this was to change the position of your spine. So if I do a little bit of a tuck up, I don't need end range here, okay? A little bit of a tuck where my belly button comes up a little bit, and I'm going to look over the shoulder. You're going to feel a little bit of a difference, okay? You might feel it less in your abs, less in your core, and more along the length of your spine. Breathe while you're doing this. And then from there, you're going to drop your belly button down. Okay, get that arch in the back, and from here you're going to do that same look over. The big difference for me on this one, guys, is I really feel that stretch going along the obliques and through the side body, okay? So the key thing to remember is that as you're doing an exercise program, if your program is well-rounded, you're probably working through core, obliques, you're working erectors, you're working glutes. Remember that as soon as those muscles start to get active, they might get tight and try to seize up. The tighter my body is, typically, the more pain people will have. So by just incorporating some of the small mobility work into your training program, hopefully you'll have a little bit less pain. The next exercise I want to go through is, let's go through a little child's pose series and a half kneeling child's pose. So with this, I'm going to first start with my toes curled under, okay, and my hands in front of me. So my hand, if I'm in my quadruped position, I'm going to press my butt back onto my heels. I'm just going to feel that nice stretch maybe in the bottom of my foot, maybe going along the length of the big toe. And what I want you guys to do here is you're going to have all 5 toes pressing into the ground, and I want you to try to click your heels together and then let the foot flop out to the side. Okay, so I'm going to rotate where I tap my heels together. I'm going to feel a really nice stretch on the inner part of the ankle, and then flop that foot out to the side. Okay, I'm trying to press my heels onto my hips while I'm doing that, because it's good stuff. Oof. Okay, and then if you can, point your toes behind you. Okay, from here, my hands are going to be in front of me. I'm going to do that same cat, cow, and sexy dog. Okay, so I'm going to go with that rounded back, tilt the pelvis, tuck the chin, and then we're going to do the opposite where I tilt the pelvis, point the tailbone back, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and down, look up. And then do the same thing. Tuck, press the shoulder blades away, tuck your pelvis, point that tailbone so it's between your knees, and then I'm going to do the opposite, tilt the hips, and look up to the ceiling. Okay, and then from here, let's add that sexy dog. So I'm going to look over my shoulder, the outside of my ankle bone, and the other side. Where is that ankle bone? There it is. Doing that alternating side to side. Hopefully with this one you feel a little bit more of that lateral flexion going up the whole side of your obliques, throughout your core. From here, I want you to press your hips back into a child's pose. Okay? And you're actually going to walk, so my toes are touching, my knees are shoulder width apart. If this is very tight through the knees, come up a little bit higher and do the same thing. You can also put a foam roller underneath your bum just to help prop you there. Walk your hands forward, and then you're going to walk your hands over to the side, okay? So here I'm going to the left. I want you to take your right hand over your left hand, and you're going to reach and walk those fingertips a little bit farther. So what you're doing is pretending like someone has their hands on your hips and they're pulling you that way, and someone else has your fingertips and they're pulling you this way. So we're creating a lot of tension going through and along the torso. Breathe in. When you take that deep breath in, you're going to think about expanding the rib cage. You're going to think about breathing into the elbow. Okay, so with that breath in, I want to focus on breathing in and down. Okay, I'm not breathing up into the shoulders. I want to think about breathing down into the rib cage, down into your pelvis, and breathe into the low back. We have a lot of musculature that hangs out through here, front and back. We want to try to expand that with our breath being slow and controlled. Okay, so let's take 2 breaths here. So you're going to breathe in through your nose, hold for 2 seconds, and then you're going to exhale. Try to exhale fully. Keep going, keep exhaling. And then again, breathe in. Expand, try to press your belly into your thighs and extend out in that torso. Hold for 3 seconds and exhale. Okay, from here with those hands still over on the side, add a little shoulder lift and then rotate, shoulder lift. So we're just adding a little bit of that reach with that lengthening through the side body and a little bit of twist. And go ahead and walk your hands over to the other side. And we're gonna do that exact same thing again. So walk the hands out. Focus on that breath, breathing in. This time I want you to breathe into your armpit, breathe into your lat, the side of your rib cage, breathe in. And let's add that little torso twist. Guys, if there's certain stretches in this series that you really like, then press rewind and watch it again. Spend more time in that stretch. If there's stretches that your body hates, then don't do it, okay? Or shoot me a message if you need a modification, okay? And then go ahead and walk yourself up from there. Guys, I have 2 more stretches I want to go through here for this low back mobility series. Next, we're going to do a half kneeling child's pose. So we're still on the knee here. Make sure you have a good mat to help support that knee joint. So my hands are underneath my shoulders. I'm going to walk them out just a little bit. I'm going to kick that foot out to the side, and I'm knifing the side of the foot into the ground. Curl that back toe under. You're going to press your hips back onto your heels, and then you're going to come up. And do the same thing. Really focus on keeping that heel and the side of the foot pressing into the ground the whole time. And then what I want you to do here is press back, rotate that toe up toward the ceiling. You can do a little point. You can lift the toes back up and then put that foot down and then come back up, okay? And then same thing again, press your hips back. You're gonna point that toe up toward the ceiling, point, flex. This time, keep that toe pointed. You're gonna come up from there. Whew. That exposes a couple more things. One more time. Keep that toe pointed away from you. Now flex, knife, and come forward from there. Whew. And let's do this one again. I'm going to show you on the other side. So hands are slightly in front of my shoulders. I'm going to knife that foot out to the side. Hands walk out just in front of my shoulders. Press the hips back. Feel that nice little stretch. Reach those hands a little bit farther away from you, and then come up from there. Good, and again, same thing. You're locking this quad straight the whole time. This time you're going to point the toes up, point them away, point them up, and knife that foot down again, and come forward from there. Again, guys, if you feel any stabbing, tearing, please stop. Don't push through it. It's not necessary. Good, now keep that toe pointed, and now come forward. That's going to pull you over to the side a little bit, and that's totally fine. One more. Now you're going to dorsiflex, lift the toes, knife the foot, and come on up from there. Whew. Okay. I have one last stretch here, and it is your 90-90 stretch. Okay, so 90-90 means front leg is at 90, back leg, my knee is also at 90, and my thighs are at 90, okay? From here, you're gonna fold over that front leg. If this is too aggressive, take your foot a little bit closer toward your, in toward your pelvis or toward your bum. Okay, if this feels okay, come out a little bit farther. And what you're trying to do here is relax the hip. So if you're really tight, your hip's gonna be back here the whole time. I want you to try to see if you can lift up high through the pelvis, and then see if you can get a rotation, okay? If you're incredibly tight, just stay up here. And what you can do is do a little rotate here, rotate forward, okay? Rotate back, rotate forward. If that feels good, take that forward fold position, walk your hands. Ooh, man, this stretch was once easier. This is less easy. And then from here, I'm gonna walk my hands over toward my front knee. So I'm gonna walk over to the thigh side. I will do a little rotation here. So I'm going to walk over to the thigh. And I'm going to add a little side body stretch. And I'm going to close up. So you should feel like a little ballerina on the bar here, okay? Like I said, if your back gets tweaky, tread lightly with this one, okay? Sometimes this movement can kind of trigger unpleasant memories, okay? One more time, add that little rotation lift. You're reaching through that pinky here. Get that nice side body stretch, and then close up from there. Okay, walk your hands back over toward the shin. And then you're going to sit up nice and tall. With this, I want you guys to put your hands behind you. I'm going to get on the mat again here. You're going to put your hands behind you, and you're going to lean back like you're lounging on a beach in the summer sun. Or you're in Mexico, because it's winter all the time here in Alberta. Just kidding. So with this one, guys, again, you might find your hips are here. I want to see if you guys can relax and get those hips rotated and pressed down, okay? And again, if this is too aggressive, change the angle through the knee joint. The farther out that foot is, the more you're going to feel that nice deep stretch on those rotators. Those are your external rotators, okay? The ones that you work so hard on helping stabilize your knee. Stabilize your hip too. Whew. And then you're going to come up, repeat that same side again if you'd like. For that transition, what I'm looking for, so if I'm here with my right leg in front, for my transition, what I want to do is I want to put that right foot flat. I'm going to lift my left knee up. I'm going to try to get that right knee down, keeping this side up, and then I'm going to try to bring that left leg down. Okay, you'll repeat this exact same thing on the other side, and those are a few stretches, guys. If you're having low back pain, give them a try. I don't think you'll regret it. Stay tuned for more videos as they come.